Hello. Today I am going to begin a video series in which I will be reading different parts of A Course in Miracles. Actually, I'm going to be reading the whole thing. I'm going to be using this edition, which is the combined third edition, and I'm really just going to be reading a section at a time. And I'm going to see if I can keep it short and sweet, and I may add a few comments here and there that might be helpful. Today I will be reading the preface, which is, and the, specifically the part, how it came. So how A Course in Miracles came into being. And this section, this will explain it. This preface was written in 1977 in response to many requests for a brief introduction to A Course in Miracles. The first two parts, how it came, what it is, Helen Schucman wrote herself. The final part, what it says, was written by the process of interdictation described in the preface. So Helen was hearing something, it's not even clear, and she wasn't able to even fully describe exactly what was happening, but she was taking down shorthand notes of something that she was, you could say, inner voice that was coming through. And this part actually she wrote. Okay? How it came. A Course in Miracles began with the sudden decision of two people to join in a common goal. Their names were Helen Schucman and William Thetford, professors of medical psychology at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. It does not matter who they were, except that the story shows that with God all things are possible. They were anything but spiritual. Their relationship with each other was difficult and often strained, and they were concerned with personal and professional acceptance and status. In general, they had considerable investment in the values of the world. Their lives were hardly in accord with anything that the Course advocates. Helen, the one who received the material, describes herself. Psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, and atheistic in belief, I was working in a prestigious and highly academic setting. And then something happened that triggered a chain of events I could never have predicted. The head of my department unexpectedly announced that he was tired of the angry and aggressive feelings our attitudes reflected, and concluded that there must be another way. That was Bill, by the way, Bill Thetford. As if on cue, I agreed to help him find it. Apparently, this course is the other way. So keep in mind that Helen is writing this as well. So she's writing about herself and about what she wrote. Although their intention was serious, they had great difficulty in starting out on their joint venture. But they had given the Holy Spirit the quote-unquote little willingness that, as the Course itself was to emphasize again and again, is sufficient to enable him to use any situation for his purposes and provide it with his power. That's the Holy Spirit when it usually talks about him like that. It's the Holy Spirit. To continue Helen's first-person account, 3 startling months preceded the actual writing, during which time Bill suggested that I write down the highly symbolic dreams and descriptions of the strange images that were coming to me. Although I had grown more accustomed to the unexpected by that time, I was still very surprised when I wrote, "This is A Course in Miracles." That was my introduction to the voice. It made no sound, but seemed to be giving me a kind of rapid inner dictation which I took down in a shorthand notebook. The writing was never automatic. It could be interrupted at any time and later picked up again. It made me very uncomfortable, but it never seriously occurred to me to stop. It seemed to be a special assignment I had somehow, somewhere agreed to complete. It represented a truly collaborative venture between Bill and myself, and much of its significance, I am sure, lies in that. I would take down what the voice, quote unquote, said and read it to him the next day, and he typed it from my dictation. I expect he had his special assignment too. Without his encouragement and support, I would never have been able to fulfill mine. The whole process took about 7 years. The text came first, then the workbook for students, and finally the manual for teachers. Only a few minor changes have been made. Chapter titles and subheadings have been inserted in the text, and some of the more personal references that occurred at the beginning have been omitted. Otherwise, the material is substantially unchanged. The names of the collaborators in the recording of the course do not appear on the cover because the course can and should stand on its own. It is not intended to become the basis for another cult. Its only purpose is to provide a way in which some people will be able to find their own internal teacher. And again, that internal teacher is usually spoken of as the Holy Spirit in different ways. The voice with a capital V, him, God's voice, that would be the internal teacher. And what term you use, like in yoga, we say your inner guru or your higher self. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's your heart of hearts that already is enlightened. The part of you that is already enlightened already knows the truth, and we all know the truth. That gets covered over by all the other voices, which would be the voice of the ego. And we will continue with the next part in the next segment, and that is just what we just read was How It Came Into Being, written by Helen. And the point she made at the end was that she did not put her name on A Course in Miracles, neither did Bill. And they got the message that this was not meant to be a religion, not meant to be what she said, a cult. It's not meant to have gurus and figureheads that dispense wisdom to others in a way that is where they are the, like a cult of personality is happening. Although there are teachers, obviously, and I'm a teacher as well. I'm also a student, but what this all means will become clear as you go through the course. But these videos, I hope, will be helpful in sorting things out a little bit and clarifying, and also just to when you don't have time to pick it up, you can just put the video on and listen. Okay, thank you for listening. Peace.